Hi, everybody. Good Wednesday evening to you. It's region weather meteorologist Matt Wintz. It's good to be with you this evening. We'll obviously let some people join here so we can get our messaging across regarding severe weather potential on Friday. Real interesting system. If you remember back to Sunday Region Weather Live, we were highlighting this system. Boy, this week has played out nicely, right? We were looking at the modeling on Sunday and we were talking about the forecast for the week. We got our hit of some rain and snow that we were like, oh, is that really going to happen on Sunday night? And we got that today. And obviously, we're colder. It's going to be a cold night out in front of us tonight. We're back down into the low to mid 20s. But we're going to bounce out of it. And the reason why is because the system out towards the west, as that spins in, is going to quickly change our air mass. And we're going to be back to some warmth, even a little bit of humidity around here as well. And that spells the risk for some severe weather. So we'll talk about that severe weather threat. We're also going to talk about, it's not always negative news around here. We've got a nice warm up next week as it looks right now that looks to be multiple days. So we'll highlight what the latest models are thinking in terms of that and kind of what we're thinking regarding that as well. We've got this special edition here tonight of Region Weather Live. We'll highlight it all. We'll let a couple people join Runner Open here, and we'll join you on the other side of this. Welcome into our Wednesday evening edition of Region Weather Live. You'll notice I'm at home. It is vacation week in our house. We did a nice staycation. My daughter's on spring break, so we've been just getting some work done here around the house. So no TV weather for me this week. It's been a nice week off. Region weather doesn't stop though. So this is a job I don't take a vacation for. So this is, obviously something that we need to talk about. So vacation or not, we're going to get the severe weather threat discussed, and we'll sort it out here. JK's with us this evening. Hi, JK. Jeff, hello to you. Justin's with us. Thanks for joining, Justin. Emma, hello to you. Carl is with us tonight. Susan, is this it with the snow? She says. Susan, we're like 98% through winter. There's still a little 2% that we could still get some snow from here on out. We should be about done after this. There's still another chance here in the forecast. It would be very brief, if anything. Mary, hello to you. Deb, hi. Gail says good evening. Krista has some kind words for me. You're joking, I know, but I appreciate it, Krista. We'll get through this together. As always, guys, I want us to highlight our sponsors there on the left-hand side of your screen. I think that's the way it is looking at it. I'm not sure if everything's reversed for you, but we have some wonderful sponsors. I want to highlight St. Jude House. If you're not familiar with them, they do great nonprofit work across the region. They have this new program that launched in February that we launched along with them. That's just about getting the word out. Okay, they don't need anything from you other than get the word out. They have a new mobile advocacy program. They've had meetings that have already taken place throughout the region: Gary, Munster, Cedar Lake, Crown Point, with their community advocates. Really good work that they're doing. All residential, non-residential services are all confidential, and all the services are absolutely no cost. That's what makes them amazing. It's all around domestic abuse and getting people out of bad situations, whether it be physical, emotional, verbal, or financial. So if you know someone who's experiencing abuse, please let them know that the St. Jude House can help at stjudehouse.org. Also want to highlight PSA. They're one of our newer sponsors as well. It's public service adjusting. With the recent wins we had last weekend, what they do is they act on your behalf with insurance claims. And I went through just to check. I always check our sponsors, and we always talk back and forth, to see if it's a good fit. I just checked their recent reviews. They have like all 5-star reviews. They had 2 that weren't because it was people that didn't even work with them, that were with the wrong company. But people are raving about them. So if you have any damage to your house or something fell on it, whatever it happens to be, broken this, broken that, and you're going through insurance to get that fixed, go through them, because they will not take no for an answer from your insurance company. They don't get paid until you do, and more often than not, you're going to get more money out of your insurance claim, and it's the money, frankly, you deserve. All right. Their local business is publicserviceadjusting.com. And finally, Ewing Mechanical Services. They do everything HVAC related in your house, whether it be new humidity, new furnace. They've got you covered. MECH.com. We've also got Discovery Travel on there. our local travel agency. They're just a fantastic group of folks to work with. A lot of spring breakers have used them. TigerPlumbing.net for our lovely plumbers in the region, and then Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in the Valparaiso area. Hi, Rich. Thanks for joining us. Krista, I know you're playing. That's fine. I play too. All right, let's get to the maps here. Let me get the right box here so you can see what we're dealing with. This system off the West Coast, that's our system that moves in here on Friday. Real decent swirl heading down towards Southern California again. This is a strong area of low pressure. Notice the D down end up spinning up quite a trough in the western half of the country, and that will focus that energy coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, form a strong low, and that's what we deal with on Friday. So that's the system we're watching. So I'm going to jump right into it. This is how it evolves as we go through time. Tomorrow, I think we'll start with sunshine tomorrow, and then we'll build up those clouds as the system starts to move in. There'll be the high wispy clouds at first, and then they'll eventually start to take over. But tomorrow looks good. We're going to bounce out of this cold. It's very cold tonight. We're going to bounce out of it pretty quickly tomorrow. Shouldn't be a bad day at all. I think we're up near 50 degrees. In fact, I had us at 57. Some of the models saying a little cooler than that, but I think we have a really nice warm day tomorrow, all things considered. Should be pretty pleasant. As we go throughout tomorrow night, that's when the system starts to move in. Couple waves with this one. This is tomorrow night. You notice this wave of rain and some rumbles of thunder in there. That's along the actual warm front with this, and that will move in tomorrow night into Friday morning. So that Friday morning rush hour will likely have some rain around. Keep in mind the model I'm showing, this is the NAM Nest. This is the one that I like best with this storm system. A lot of times it's the HRRR, sometimes it's the NAM, sometimes it's the NAM Nest, but I tend to like the look of this model the best. But just remember, this isn't truth, okay? What we're looking at is what the model is thinking is going to happen, okay? So things can adjust either way with timing and all that, or with strength of these thunderstorms. But the thinking's the same, so the messaging stays the same throughout this as well. So we get a morning round of some shower. This happens Thursday night into that Friday morning commute. All right, after we go through that, notice how we kind of dry out for a little bit. I notice there's a lot of noise on the radar here. It's saying there's a lot of showers and stuff around. I don't think it'll be quite this noisy, but I do think there'll be some showers around. I don't think we'll completely clear out during the day Friday. So that morning threat is there for some showers and thunderstorms. I'm not really sold that those are going to be severe. The National Weather Service in Chicago is thinking maybe 2 rounds of severe weather. I'm not too sold on that quite yet. So that morning round, I think, some thunder and lightning. I'm not really seeing too much of a severe threat with that. Where I do see a severe threat is later Friday, okay? So Friday, I think we spend a lot of the day, and again, it depends on timing with this and how these develop, but as I see it right now, I think we're going to have a little bit more of a quiet day around here with just passing showers, maybe a rumble of thunder here and there, but some dry hours in between all that, all right? It's really Friday night that this frontal boundary starts to organize. Here's your big area of low pressure as it continues to further develop. This is going to be much like last weekend's. There's going to be a large wind field around it because it's going to be a very strong area of low pressure. The difference between this one and last week is the fact that this one is going to have some warm air coming all the way up into Michigan and Wisconsin. We're not talking heavy snow for southern Wisconsin like we were last time. So we're going to be a little bit further placed south in this, and that puts us a little bit further into that severe weather sector as we're going to continue to see with these spring storm systems as we get warmer and warmer. It's going to place us more in line with that severe weather threat, right? That's why our severe weather season typically in April heads into May, and we get them all summer too, but that's really when the jet stream's poking through here. So that being said, the model is indicating that on Friday afternoon, we're going to see some robust thunderstorms back towards Iowa, stretching down into Missouri, all right? These will be supercells. This is where the highest risk for severe weather is in this part of the woods, where they're already thinking a moderate risk for this area. That's pretty high. It's still pretty high across our region, but it's not as great as it will be out towards the west, okay? This is peak heating of the day. They'll likely have temperatures 60s and 70s with some higher dew points out here. Lots of shear with the atmosphere. The jet stream is going to be coming in one direction. Wind at the surface is going to be another direction. So that'll lend us some twists in the atmosphere. So I do think they have a pretty good tornado risk out here as these develop. This is Friday afternoon. Still some rain around perhaps, but more than likely we're going to be watching the main show out towards the west, and we won't really have a whole lot to worry about. As we go throughout Friday afternoon into the evening, this is your evening now. Notice how it becomes more linear. So we have the individual supercells are now turning into more of a line. I like that idea with this. This becomes less of a tornado threat, more of a damaging wind threat. And eventually that line plows through Northwest Indiana. This is a stout line of storms. And again, this is why we're doing the broadcast tonight. A lot of times we'll hear about a severe weather threat. I'll look at it and I'll say, I'm not really sold on that yet. I'm pretty sold on this. I think we've got a pretty good chance of severe storms around here late in the day, Friday into Friday evening. I wouldn't push it into nighttime. I think it'll be out of here by nighttime. But in terms of that Friday evening threat, it's legit, and it's from this. It would be some kind of line of strong to severe storms, likely packing some damaging winds with it. We would have a tornado threat with that as well. It wouldn't be as high as it is out towards the west, but there's going to be shear in the atmosphere. So what you can get with the line is these quick spin-up tornadoes along this line. We call it a QLCS line. Basically, the line's moving in. You get these little hooks that form in the line. Chance for tornadoes within this line are not as great as when there's supercells out in the plains, okay? But it would still be there. Primary threat would be for damaging winds, though, Friday evening into the early hours Friday night, okay? Once that line heads through, we'll likely clear out for a little bit. I could see us even starting Saturday. You saw my post earlier on the 3-day. I could even see us starting Saturday with maybe some sun peaks around here very early in the morning, like 6, 7, 8. And then the clouds will build in as this area of low pressure kind of swirls through. And this is what brings us some rain and maybe a little bit of snow on the back end of it, okay? Big temperature drop expected with this as well. All right, so that's the main messaging with this is that Friday evening, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, because this could speed up. We may have this Friday afternoon, but as of right now, I think it's Friday evening. Line of severe storms is pretty likely at this point to move through from west to east pretty quickly through the region. Damaging winds, primary threat. There could be a hail threat with that as well. There's some cold air aloft. Brief heavy rains, and then we have a risk of tornadoes. It's not a huge risk, but there is the risk for that. Okay, so that's the time frame we want to watch. So just keep in mind, whatever you're doing Friday evening, just keep in mind, you're going to want to be in tune with the weather. Okay, and then once that's out of here, Friday evening, Friday night, we're fine. Beyond that, all right, it's going to be turning colder for the weekend. In terms of rainfall, I don't see this being a big flood threat. I know we've had plenty of rain. The NamNest saying anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to maybe 1.25 inches. That would be some minor flooding with it. I don't think flooding is going to be the big deal with this, though. Okay, there could be some pockets. This could ramp up a little bit over the next couple model runs, but I think this line isn't going to linger. It's going to be pretty quick in and out of here as well. The other facet is going to be, we have two things. We have temperature, which is going to go crazy. We also have wind, and the wind is going to be a pretty big deal with this. Much like last weekend's storm, you notice how it ramps up. This is Thursday night into Friday. This is when we're getting that initial batch of showers in here in the thunderstorms early in the day. And then during the day, Friday, it's going to be very windy. We'll have gusts over 40 at times. Can this ramp up? It could if the low gets stronger. As of right now, I would probably keep it around, in the 40-mile-per-hour range. I'm not calling for anything over 50. I haven't seen that in the modeling yet. But anyway, Friday's going to be windy around here. And then as that line approaches, watch this. Notice how we're tapping into perhaps some very strong wind gusts with that line of storms. That's our damaging wind threat. There's going to be a powerhouse jet stream up above us. So as these storms grow up into that, they can pull some of that jet stream energy down to the surface, which is how we get some of our really strong wind gusts. So Friday evening, there's that threat we were talking about. Some of these wind gusts on the modeling saying, 60, 70 miles per hour plus, okay? That heads out, and then it's still going to be windy around here on Saturday, but that's the colder side, so we'll be getting much colder. All right, final thing I want to show you here are temperatures. Watch this. So real cold tonight, back down to the 20s. Nice bounce back tomorrow. I've got us in the mid to upper 50s. You notice the NamNest keeping us right around 50, maybe some 53s in our southern counties. I think with some morning sunshine, and a nice south wind, I think we'll overachieve on temperatures. So I've got us mid 50s, maybe even some upper 50s, okay? Nice day tomorrow. Wind starts to pick up. And then we stay warm Thursday night. We'll have some thunderstorms around. Remember, with that initial batch, we'll likely stay in the 50s Thursday night. And then Friday, we're pretty warm around here. We're talking low 60s at least. Some of the modeling I've seen mid to upper 60s. I don't think we're going to have a ton of sunshine, so it's going to be tough to achieve. But this south wind's going to be blowing in the warm air all the way from down near Texas. So there's that. But anyway, Friday's warm enough to support severe weather. Notice the isobars. Look at this wind field. It takes up the whole map with southwest wind changing to northwest wind behind it. And then back in behind that, here's your temperature drop. We're getting an early look at it, but much colder on the backside, okay? So that's our severe weather threat. Let's talk about long range briefly, and then I'll answer your questions. We'll get you out of here on this Wednesday evening. So once we get this system out of here, here's the latest Euro. Here's what I'm talking about on Saturday. There's going to be some rain and snow around, just kind of sloppy and colder and blustery. But as usual, it doesn't last long, and that's no April Fool's joke. That's literally what's happening on the modeling for April 1st. But as we do this time here, we bounce back so quickly, and I love that. We don't stay cold. In fact, we'll bounce back pretty nicely with pretty dry conditions to start next week, and then we start to bring in some kind of frontal boundary out ahead of a bigger system to the west. And look at this system. I mean, this is Tuesday into Wednesday next week. All sorts of winter weather on the northern end. We are firmly in the warm-up with this one, and all the models agree with that. There is going to be some rain around. The way it passes doesn't really bring in cold air. It just brings in cooler air. And let me show you some of the numbers real quick. And then this is the last thing I want to show you. It looks like we're going to have a nice warm-up, and most of the modeling agrees with that next week, where, you know, we fall back temporarily on Saturday, and then we really start to warm things up after that. So here you go. So here's Thursday. That's Thursday tomorrow. So again, 50s ought to do it. I think we'll overachieve. This is what the Euro is saying for Friday. It's saying mid-60s. Notice the 70s out where the severe weather initiates out towards the west. It's going to be warm around here on Friday. Saturday, we're cooler. We're back down to the 40s for highs. You're looking at them right there. And then watch this bounce back on Sunday. I don't know if you can see these numbers. So Sunday, we're back into the 50s and near 60. All right. I would probably go mid to upper 50s on that. We'll still have some cold air around. And then we're in it. It's a nice warm up. Look at this. Upper 60s, a little cooling near the lake shore. There'll be some kind of boundary in there, but real nice on Monday. And then Wednesday's the day I want to show you. There's Tuesday. Notice the boundary. It's either going to be 70s and really nice on Tuesday, or we're going to have this keeps us in the 50s. I think there'll be a widespread in temps. Typical spring setup where we go from 50s to 70s and you have this boundary that fluctuates. But watch Wednesday. We're in it out ahead of this system. Boom. Look at that. 70s on Wednesday. How about that? Depending on the frontal passage and where it ends up, I mean, we've got a set of warm days next week. You know, that's my main point. So we will enjoy that and get outside, hopefully, and just really, really enjoy it. Okay. All right. Let's get to your questions, shall we? We've got a lot to get through here. I hope that helps explain kind of what we're looking at. Again, just in recap, Friday afternoon, evening is when we're going to watch for severe weather threat around here. Okay. And I'll be here, despite being on vacation, I'll be here tracking that for you. Okay. Not a problem at all. All right. So here we go. Diane says, is winter over yet? Diane, not quite yet. Climatologically, we're about 97, 98% through with winter snow. So, you know, we may get a little bit this weekend. I don't see any big snows. We've had snowstorms in April before. You know, can it happen? It can. It's that heavy, wet snow. Do I see any in the forecast? I don't. So the later we get on in the year, in the month of April, we'll be okay. Bonnie asks a great question. She says, Matt, what do you think the month of April looks like? Cold? Bonnie, there are some signs that we start on the cooler side with April. I mean, we're starting to get a look into it. And, you know, we've got this, obviously there's going to be some warm up at the front end of April, but as we get into the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th of April, it does look like we cool down for a little bit with the northwest flow. But overall, the March was looking cold. April does not look as cold. And I don't mean that just because we're getting warmer. I mean, in terms of pattern. So as of right now, I think, you know, we're looking okay. And Bonnie, thank you. She says, great haircuts on the boys. Yeah, my wife and I took the boys to get haircuts. Wyatt, our littlest, my wife's been cutting his hair since COVID, you know, since everything kind of started. And this is our first time going to the barber, and he did great. They did wonderful. It was wonderful. So it was cool. Diane asked a good question. Sarah, you're welcome for the information. Diane says, how will the weather be for Saturday afternoon in Whiting? The annual Easter parade is that day. And I know there's a lot of Easter egg hunts around the region this weekend as well. So Diane, it's going to be windy. We're going to have some rain and snow around. I don't think it's going to be a washout. It's nothing that needs to be canceled. The low pressure kind of swirls in Saturday, and it'll likely kind of look like popcorn on radar, where we'll have, some rain, maybe some snow, or even grapple, the little Dippin' Dots mixed in. But again, I don't think that's for everybody. It's going to be kind of blustery and cold around here. We'll be in the 40s and it'll be breezy out of the northwest. So not warm, not the best, but not the worst. It could be worse. Okay. Tom, I'm trying to figure out how to grow our lawn real nice and lush. So I'm not real good at lawn experts. I think I am, but I'm not. But when should you put fertilizer on the lawn? I think don't you want dry weather for a stretch before that? I know when to plant grass seed, and now would actually be a good time to plant grass seed. Not tonight because it's going down in the 20s, but tomorrow or the next day, if you can get outside and plant grass seed, it'd be okay for that because we've got mild weather, no real hard freezes from here on out. The grass will germinate anyway. But in terms of fertilizer, Tom, I'm not sure exactly what you need for fertilizer. I just don't know that. I'm going to guess it's the same thing where you need some dry weather. Maybe you need a general light rain to kind of help it soak in, but you can do that with a garden hose. So my best guess for you would be next week would be a good time because you don't want a lot of wind with fertilizer either, I would imagine. Tim from Discovery Travel says, Olaf from Cabo will try to drag some warm weather back with us. Oh, Tim, you're spoiled down there. Hello, this is what we're dealing with up here. Tim, if you're coming back next week, it looks like this is your flight path right here. So I think you are dragging all this warm air back. That's awesome. Hope you're having fun down there. Diane says, Tim, please do. Let's see. Maxwell says, seems like the NAM has the classic Northwest Indiana split. Do you expect that to happen? Maxwell, I don't think it actually does have that this time. It shows a pretty solid line coming through. It doesn't have the supercells moving through, but the NAM shows a pretty solid line moving through here. We're getting a first read on the HRRR of what that looks like when it comes through. We'll be able to see it next couple of days. I don't know. I mean, you asked the question, do I expect that to happen? It's one of those setups where it often does. But I don't want to let my guard down. And here's the difference with this one and a lot of systems we've had come in the past that do that split. There's a real strong jet stream with this. This isn't a lot of times when we see that split, and what he's talking about, a lot of times the line of storms will be coming into Chicago and it'll be intense and then it'll kind of split up or break up as it moves through the region. We call it the Indiana split, right? It really does happen. And it has to do with the timing of these systems. Usually they're moving in late evening and night when we lose the instability and things just fall apart. This one's different. This isn't when that happens, it's usually in the summertime. This has a powerful jet stream with it. So I don't think there's going to be any splitting going on. This is going to be a solid line of storms. But we'll see. It's certainly possible. We may have the strongest storms out over the lake and then stronger storms south. Who knows? Always going to be interesting, but we'll see. Mary's birthday's on Saturday. No rain and snow, she says. Okay, I hope so, Mary. Happy early birthday to you, though. Dave, you're welcome. Adrian says, of course, the warm weather will get here when most of the districts are back in school after spring break. Adrian, I'm going through the same thing here. I just got pelted with snow during my daughter's spring break and my vacation this week. So not happy with it at all. Justin asked a really good question. Do you think clouds and rain likely limit instability for storms? Justin, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm not 100% sold on the fact that we're going to be able to support severe weather that day. All right. Today, we're going to get the word out. We'll start to really analyze it tomorrow when we get some fresh data in. But it does seem really noisy on radar. There's lots of rain around. This isn't a compact low. It's kind of an initial low that brings all this scattered rain up. We get that morning batch. And then it's just kind of messy on radar. It's not a real clean system. There's just rain and clouds everywhere. So, it's too early to tell for that. I have considered that, and I do think that is a possibility that we need to watch, is that we stay locked into some rain, maybe some lingering showers continue to pop throughout the day, and we never clear out. Not that we're expecting a big clear out, but stuff like that could limit our instability for sure. I do see a pretty good threat for that storms that's pretty definite out towards the west, like Iowa and Missouri. So I would imagine whatever that is will still move in. Maxwell, not as of right now. Not as of right now. He asked, do you expect the enhanced risk to move into Northwest Indiana? It's not far away. It's in Illinois. As of right now, Maxwell, I do not. I think they've got it nicely lined up with where the storms will line up. Again, tomorrow we get a new fresh batch of data. This system is just now coming ashore, so we'll have good METAR readings coming out of this that send good data back into the models. So we'll have a good idea of how this will evolve as we go into the daytime tomorrow. With those model runs, we'll be able to tell a little bit better on Friday. But most of the time with thunderstorms and severe thunderstorm events, it really comes down towards the day of, where we can analyze it in the morning. They send up weather balloons. You can tell what the atmosphere is doing exactly over you versus looking at models and saying, oh, that's correct or that's weird. We'll get some real true reads on Friday morning. But as of right now, I don't want that to change the messaging. I mean, enhanced risk or not, I'm not big on the SPC's rating systems in terms of, enhanced, moderate, all that. The wording I don't like, right? I mean, enhanced, what's that tell you? Like most of the general public doesn't know the difference between enhanced and moderate. It doesn't tell you that there's a severe threat. They're just weird words. I like the words like likely and widespread in terms of severe weather. But anyway, the messaging doesn't change. Friday afternoon, Friday evening, we need to be on the lookout for damaging wind-producing thunderstorms. Mary, you're welcome. Debbie, sometimes it does. The Indiana split in the summer, sometimes it does. But sometimes that lake breeze coming off the lake will actually enhance storms because it throws another boundary in there. So we'll have storms coming in this direction, and then you have wind or a lake breeze boundary coming off the lake. And when they collide, boom, you can get some big storms where that air comes together. Because remember, when air comes together, it can't go on the ground, it goes up. So, a lot of times that's what it does rather than hurt us versus getting rain. Sometimes it'll enhance some storms in the summertime. Adrian, I could see that. Yeah, that's a good call. Possible derecho status with predicted line. I don't think we'll reach derecho status, but I do think there'll be widespread damaging winds with this as it rolls east. But it's not, the derechos are typically in a pattern, the ring of fire pattern, as we call it, late spring, early summer, actually just in the summer in general, when you get a dome of heat and you'll get those ridge riders, those big clusters of storms that just race along and they kind of curve as they go. That's actually my favorite meteorological pattern because the models don't get it. I mean, it is no man's land as a forecaster forecasting those. That's typically when you get these derechos. This one's going to be a little different because I don't think it's going to be one individual storm cluster that's forming all this. I think there'll be patches of damaging winds in this line, which would totally negate, the cluster of storms, the same storm producing all that damage. So, so I don't think so. I could see, the damaging wind threat lasting for a long time, but I think it would be kind of hodgepodge in terms of where it is. I think that's it. And I'm doing all these hand motions and I have the comment up so you can't see. I'm trying to explain things with my hands. So there's that. All right, guys. Well, I hope that helps. We'll be with you. We'll keep you updated the rest of the week. Again, tomorrow's beautiful. So enjoy tomorrow. Clouds will increase throughout the day. But we'll be back with you over the next couple of days, obviously, to chat about the weather forecast. Please keep in mind, I know it's cold tonight, but please keep in mind the warm up next week. It's kind of the light at the end of the tunnel. I do think we hit 70 next week, at least one day. We'll see. Okay. All right. Thanks for joining me tonight. I certainly appreciate it. Have a good Wednesday night, everybody.